All right, so it's been another very eventful 24 hours in the Trump administration. So let's talk about it. Yesterday, President Trump attempted to issue a freeze on all federal funding and grants. This includes things like Medicare, Medicaid, food stamps, Social Security, student loan stuff, a bunch of just a ton of programs that help people, as we'll see actually Bernie Sanders discuss here in a minute. Uh, Luckily, it got held up by a U.S. judge, so the freeze is currently not in effect. So thank God for that. Anyways, let's go ahead and watch Bernie's take on it. So Bernie Sanders posted on X here, the president can veto or support legislation. He can make recommendations to Congress, but he doesn't have the unilateral right to change laws. Trump has very little respect for the rule of our Constitution, the rule of law and our Constitution. He is moving us towards authoritarianism. We must stop him. So the big issue here that Bernie is going to get into is Congress holds the purse, the checkbook for money spent by the federal government. So every year, I don't know how often, but these spending bills pop up for budgeting, basically allocating where funds go, how much we spend, and so forth. And that gets passed by Congress. And the point that Bernie's going to make is, once that's passed by Congress, the president has two options. They can veto it, and that's back to the drawing board, or they can support it. So it was passed before Trump took office, so those funds are allocated per Congress, and you can't just freeze them, is the argument they're making here, which I would agree with. You have some degree of control of how it's spent within those programs, but it's allocated. You can't just freeze it. That's just not how this works. So that got held up. But anyways, let's watch this video from Bernie Sanders.
The executive order to cut off federal funding announced by the Trump administration last night will be a disaster for working people all across this country, for the elderly, for our kids, our veterans, and for the environment. It must be rescinded. This order will impact millions of Americans on Medicaid or who use community health centers, children in Head Start and in childcare, elderly people on the Meals on Wheels program, homeless veterans and veterans in rural areas, seniors who are kept warm through the LIHEAP program, and firefighters and police officers who protect us. At a time of unprecedented natural disasters, it will also make it difficult for communities to get the help they desperately need. This executive order is not only going to hurt working families and lower-income Americans all across this country, it is also illegal and unconstitutional. Let us be clear. The President of the United States can veto legislation. He can make recommendations to Congress. He can support legislation. But he does not have the unilateral right to change laws that Congress has passed. This is one more sad indication that Donald Trump has very little respect for the rule of law and our Constitution, and is moving us toward an authoritarian form of society. Together, we must and will stop him. Thank you.
So, yeah, he's exactly right. He can make recommendations, he can veto, or he can sign the spending bill, which was signed before he took office. But once it's been signed and passed through Congress, you can't just freeze it and say, yeah, we're no longer gonna, follow through on the budget. All right, so let's also get into what Elizabeth Warren had to say about this. She posted on X, let's be clear about what happened today. Donald Trump tried to cut a giant chunk of government funding, hurting preschoolers, seniors, and veterans. A lot more than that. Trump's illegal shutdown is blocked for now, but don't forget that he tried to cut programs supporting working families, which is true. Let's watch.
Stop what you're doing. President Trump broke the law and shut down a huge chunk of government funding. That means little kids in preschool may stop getting their school lunches. Meals on Wheels, the folks bringing hot food to seniors, could grind to a halt. Nursing homes funded by Medicaid don't know how to pay their workers. Whether you live in a red state or a blue state, this is a lot of pain on a lot of people. And that is just the start. If you're working to cure cancer, your funding was just paused. If you run a homeless shelter, your budget now has a big hole in it. How do you feed people? If you work at a veterans nonprofit, you're scrambling to get answers. Donald Trump promised to bring down the cost of living for working people on day one. Well, here we are at the start of week 2, and he's ripping away the programs that help people breathe a little easier. We gotta fight back. Stop what you're
Yeah, so I have my fair share of problems with Elizabeth Warren, but she is spot on here. 100% spot on. So, like, also adding that, cancer research paused, homeless shelters paused, like, just anything that helps people, like, it's just all on the table. Pretty much any program within the government that isn't the military or border security it's on the table to be cut. Let's be real. Let's be real. Trump's already talked about cutting FEMA. He's talked about cutting the Department of Education, and there's also talk about he's offering like some sort of severance if the over I want to say 2 million to 2 million federal workers who he is basically trying to cut. He is offering them a severance, and we'll see where that goes. But he's just trying to gut the government, and I can't wrap my head around why people think this is beneficial or helpful. You think this is going to lower your taxes? You think it's going to lower taxes, but not for you unless you make over $1 million. Just like the last time, 80% of the benefits, probably even more this time, are going to go to the top 1% when his tax plan does come. So I can't wrap my head around this. Do these programs have a lot of issues and in a lot of sense need actual reform, not reform in the sense of, oh, we're going to cut it or we're going to hand it off to the private sector. Yeah, a lot of these do need improvement. But the solution isn't to just say, oh, fuck it, flip the table and cut them. No, let's actually improve these programs. But no, they don't want to do that. They want to cut everything in sight and give tax breaks to their billionaire friends. Um, if you're still supporting Donald Trump after his last 2 weeks, well, almost 2 weeks in office, then I don't know what to tell you. You're like, when I say supporting, I'm not talking about if you voted for him in this election. I'm talking about if you are still on X, still on Reddit, still on whatever social media platform you prefer, playing hardcore defense for this guy, and you're either just racist, transphobic, sexist, or extremely wealthy. Like, that's the only reasons I can think of on why anyone would still continue to support this guy after his first, week and a half in office. All he's done is eliminate DEI programs, eliminate any anti-discrimination laws, stated that there's only two genders, rescinded the Biden executive order on drug prices, removing the cap, so that's going up, starting trade wars, mass deportation. What is this guy doing to help you? What do you support that he's doing? Mass deportation? You think getting rid of the immigrants is going to solve your financial problems? You think that's going to lower prices? You think that's going to give you better health care? You think that's going to solve the climate crisis? Oh, sorry, you guys don't believe in that. Like, what are we doing? If you still support him at this point, let me know. I have an NFT, and I was thinking of a new crypto project of starting that I could use some funding for. So, yeah, hit me up. I hear you guys are into that. Anyways, let me know what you think in the comments. I just can't anymore. If you made it to this point in the video, I just want to give a special thank you. If you enjoyed it, please hit that like button down below. And if you really enjoyed it, maybe consider hitting that subscribe button while you're down there. I want to hear your thoughts in the comment section. I will try to reply to any and all comments that I can. Until next time, watch that video on screen.